Hey there! Thanks for tuning in to The View from Monkey's Eyebrow. We are broadcasting out of Joe's Place in Monkey's Eyebrow, located in Ballard County, Kentucky. We'll be talking with the folks who live in Ballard County. They are some of the most fascinating characters, and will share some of the most interesting stories you'll ever hear. By the time they're done, you might even want to live here. Your host is Joe Culver.
Our guest today moved the company from Canada to Barlow. His company produces an intriguing product. It's nothing you can wear or use to make any phone calls. They make a premium grade of natural pet food. We want to find out about Joshua, his company, and how a decision was made to move from Canada to Barlow. It's a fascinating story. Good morning, Joshua.
Good morning.
Before we get into the meat of your story, and your name is Joshua Honcoop,
Yeah.
before we get into the meat of the story, and I intended that to be a pun, tell us something about yourself, where you started out in life, if you went to college and studied anything that led you into the pet food business, etc.
Yeah, there was absolutely nothing that led me into the pet food business at all. That I did in life, because I started out in the trades. Where I worked for my father at the beginning, and he owned he still owns a floor covering and window blinds business. So I worked for him for a little bit, and then I thought I wanted to try some different trades out, which I did. But nothing really appealed to me until I finally started selling cars, and then so I was selling new cars at a Nissan dealership in southwestern Ontario, and then I worked there for about 5 years, and then from there I went and I sold furnaces and air conditioners to doing in-home visits. So sales was where it was at for me, and then I looked into a raw dog food company, or just started kind of researching into it a little bit while I was in Canada. And the market in Canada for raw dog food is extremely saturated, especially in southwestern Ontario. There's many businesses that produce raw dog food, because meat regulations are not nearly as stringent in Canada, strangely enough, as they are in the U.S. So I guess there's more population, and very I guess it's congested there, with people. So I looked at statistics from the U.S., and in the U.S. there are more dogs than there are households, and there are more cats than there are more dogs. Than there are dogs. So, but the demand for dog food was greater than the supply, and that was only in 2020. So, and that skyrocketed over the course of COVID. People went completely wild buying pets. The pet market went crazy too. So I just saw an opportunity, and we had been thinking about leaving anyway for a while and coming to the U.S. And so, yeah, once I kind of figured out that opportunity, then we packed our bags and moved to the U.S., not knowing where we were going to stay entirely, because we actually landed in Orlando. But that's sort of the story. Was just some stats and my experience in sales that made me think that I could do this. So, and I also have an acquaintance in Canada that has a very highly successful dog food business. So,
well, did you start this business from scratch, buy an existing business, and did you start it in Canada, and when did you start it?
No, I didn't start it in Canada. I left Canada. So when I was in Canada, I was selling furnaces and air conditioners, and my wife was an ER nurse, and we had a house that we'd finished renovating, and we both had good jobs, and I quit my job, Jess quit her job, and we sold our house, and then we just moved here. So I started the business here in Kentucky from scratch. So I didn't know. All I knew was that there was a demand for dog food, and then I did some research on what was out there, and then I thought, well, there's one thing that has to make me unique, and that's going to be the quality of my food. So we really made sure that when I started figuring things out, I said to the nutritionist that I'd hired, look, I want a dog food that other people don't have. I want a dog food that is a full meal for a dog, not just supplementary to, say, kibble or whatever, because that's awful stuff. Kibble is very bad for your dogs for the most part. So basically from the ground up, we did, we had to figure out what kind of packaging to use. I had to figure out what kind of equipment to use. I had to design the labels. I had to basically do absolutely everything there was to do from the ground up, which is fine. It's a lot of work. It still is a lot of work, but I don't know. I'm figuring it out pretty quickly, and I can assure you we've got a very nice product. So
it's not a predictive move from selling cars to making and selling dog food, but it's an interesting move. Do you make the same dog food now as you did when you started, or has it evolved as the company has evolved?
Well, so it has evolved as well, but yes, I use the exact same product as I did when I started, because it has given us nothing but good results from a testimonial perspective. I've had customers tell me that their dogs had allergies and no longer with the food that we have, because we haven't put any preservatives or anything like that, no colors, no fillers, nothing like that in our product. We keep our product good by freezing it. And so there's certain ingredients that we don't use, like bone meal, for example. We use eggshell powder instead. So just little things that make our product unique and that are very healthy for the dog. So we definitely use the product that we started out with, and we've evolved into a raw line now. So the line that we currently sell is a cooked line, but we've moved into a raw line. We're going to be getting into snacks very shortly, some supplements, natural supplements. I don't want to get into the synthetic form. I try to stay away from that. Natural, I think, is the better way to go when it comes to your pet. But yeah, so that's basically where we're at. And then we're going to get into cats too at some point down the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Curious, why is eggshell powder better than bone meal?
Because dogs don't really eat bones. Like if it's a soft bone, a dog will eat it. But a beef bone, you'll never see, like a dog will not eat a beef bone. Dogs mostly want a bone for the marrow. So if we took bone marrow and added that into our meals, that would be fine. But the actual bone itself is often very hard on a dog's digestive system. And one thing I found out very quickly when I started talking to customers is that if you have a dog that has digestive issues, there's a decent likelihood that dog is eating bone meal. And I could not believe the amount of dogs that had digestive issues. So what we did was we cut bone meal out because, like I said, dogs don't really eat bone itself, and bone meal is simply crushed bone. We'd rather the dog eat the marrow or something similar to it without causing the digestive issues. So we supplemented bone meal with eggshell powder, and eggshell powder still gets the dog the minerals and the nutrients that it needs and that it normally gets from a bone. That's what eggshell powder does, but eggshell powder is digestible, so it doesn't hurt the dog's digestive system. So it's a lot easier on the dog, and like I said, it's incredible what percentage of dog meals have bone meal in them versus, or I guess in relation to the amount of dogs that have digestive issues. It's incredible. So I don't ever want to use bones in my meals, ever.
Let me get to what I consider the bottom line question. Why would someone from Canada who'd been selling cars and household appliances wind up in Barlow, Kentucky in a business he'd never been involved in, making natural dog food?
Yeah, well, like the business part, I don't really, there's not that much will stop me. If I feel like I can do it, then I'm going to do it. So, I mean, I can see myself maybe doing different things down the road, additional to what I'm doing now too, because there is opportunities that kind of branch off of what I'm doing right now. Um, so from that perspective, I suppose I'm a bit of an adventure seeker. But Barlow, it's a fairly simple story. We landed in Florida in August of 2021, I want to say, and we had no idea where we were going to settle. We did know that we wanted the country, because we kind of grew up in the country and we like that style. And but Kentucky was never actually on my radar. It was more like we were thinking somewhere Florida, Alabama, something like that. But we had no idea because we don't have any relatives in the South per se. So there was nothing that was really going to tie us to one place or the other. My brother-in-law, he comes from Canada, and with his wife one day, and they buy 2 farms in La Center. So we were like, okay, well, that's cool. We want to see the farms and whatever. So we drove up. We were in Florida at the time, and then we drove up, and we found a property in Wickliffe, which is obviously just around the corner from La Center and Barlow. So, yeah, that property kind of brought us here, I suppose, because we ended up buying it. So that's what started everything, and then I got to meeting a few people in town, and I thought, well, I may as well, if we're going to live here, I may as well start the business here then. So, yeah, that's how that works. It's not as intriguing a story as, there was no special occasion that brought us here. It was just kind of circumstantial.
I've driven from Monkey's Eyebrow to and through Barlow a few times. I've never seen anything that jumped out as being a dog food manufacturing and distribution center. Where are you in Barlow?
We're right on the main drag. We're right on 4th Street. It's 301 South 4th Street, and we're actually in what used to be the Fellowship Hall, I think it was, and it's if I'm not mistaken anyway, it was part of the Baptist church, because I share the parking lot with the Baptist church in Barlow. So I believe that was together at one point, and then they ended up maybe severing the property, and so that's basically just a small facility there, but it's got a kitchen in it, which is very helpful for the volume that we're doing, because we're a fairly new business. So I don't really have huge need for mass production yet right now. We can do quite a few 100 pounds per day out of there.
How much?
I said quite a few 100 pounds. I probably do say 400 or 500 pounds a day we could produce out of there. And that's with the cooked product. Once we get into our raw line, because cooking obviously is a lot more labor intensive, once we get into the raw line, it's just going to be, we'll be able to do probably double that out of that location. So we have room to grow in that building, and I don't have any prominent signage out there because it's not really open to the public as a storefront. It's just where we do the production, and then everything gets shipped from there or delivered from there. So
I've looked at your website, and it shows that your natural dog food is available in 4 different kinds of meat. Now, I heard you mention that you had a nutritionist involved early in your process. So how did your company choose the particular formula that you use to make your dog food, and what was the nutritionist's role in helping you get started?
I would not be able to do. I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am right now if I didn't have our nutritionist. Her name's Samantha. She is always working on, formulating new diets or coming up with ideas as far as nutrition goes, because we don't really advertise it too much, but we do nutrition consultations and do custom diets for people whose dogs have severe ailments or veterinary diagnosed digestive issues of any kind, or just even veterinary diagnosed diseases. So we try to do what we can from a natural standpoint that way. So she's definitely a big part of the game. But I when we landed in the United States, I went on to a nutritionist site, and I just sent out a mass email basically saying, look, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm looking for. And so Samantha was one of the people that I spoke to. She called up a lot to just to check in and kept tabs with me and that kind of thing. So we sort of developed that business relationship pretty quickly. And I said, yeah, let's work together. And so that's what we're doing. And she's putting the recipes together for us. And then she's got all the credentials too. She went to school for it. She's been a vet nutritionist for a lot of years. Went to school for 5 years. So she actually puts the ingredients together in their portions, because we'll do green beans, we'll do kale, we'll do all kinds of different vegetables and meats, but they're all put together based on a formula that, number one, meet the AFCO standards, which is AFCO is basically a regulatory body that says this is what constitutes a complete and balanced diet for a dog, and if it's not complete and balanced, then you don't get to put that on your packaging. So we said, well, we want to do a complete and balanced diet. Samantha put the portion sizes of everything together to make that complete and balanced diet, and then we actually make that recipe into a tangible item.
You cook and distribute out of Barlow. Do you do the same thing out of any other locations?
Well, our distribution is through stores, retail. So, yeah, we're in Kentucky, obviously, a doggy daycare, where it's a little bit different there because they feed other people's dogs our food, but they buy the food. So, but as far as retail locations goes, we've got a store in Missouri. We have a store in Paducah. We have a store in La Center, and we've got a store in Nashville. So that's just going to keep on growing as time goes on. Some of these stores we're not even physically in yet. We're just working on box designs and things like that, but we'll be in there within a matter of a couple of weeks. So as time goes on, we're going to continue going into others' retail stores, pet supply stores, and selling our product that way. So that's going to get us hopefully the exposure that we're looking for. We're on social media too. So, if we go into a new store, say like Nashville, for example, I can target Nashville on social media with paid ads or Google ads or things like that will draw attention to our brand, and then hopefully give that store a little bit more business.
You have retail facilities in Missouri, Paducah, La Center, and Nashville. Do you stock all of those from your Barlow facility?
Yeah.
So Barlow is the only place you're actually preparing the food.
Yep, that's correct. Okay. That's right.
Now, I'm interested in the process of preparing the food. What kinds of equipment do you need to cook and freeze? And are there specialized pieces of equipment or just commercially available stuff?
Well, it's there is definitely specialized equipment out there. Put it this way, I can get whatever I want as far as equipment is concerned, provided I have the money up front. It's incredible, the equipment that is made specifically for even dog food manufacturing. It's unbelievable. But, I started out with a meat grinder that'll do about 400 pounds an hour of meat, a 30-quart mixer, commercial mixer, so nothing in the industrial scale. We've got a small vacuum sealer to seal our bags, so we can grind the meat, we can cook the food. We have basically small commercial equipment at this point, and that does the trick for us for now. But as time goes on, I've spoken with engineers and different companies who are literally able to create a pretty much completely automated system if I wanted that, I'm not saying I necessarily want that, but I could basically get a completely automated system where you put raw product in the one end and out it comes cooked the other end. It's incredible. That's bagged, sealed, completely packaged, and boxed. With literally having had maybe somebody put in the raw material at the beginning, but that becomes a production line at that point. Everything becomes a lot bigger. Your electric load is a lot greater, and you're dealing with a different scale at that point, which I kind of want to, I'm hoping to get to that point, but we're not there currently.
Do you have to freeze very quickly, and how do you accomplish it?
Yeah, so when we grind our meat, a lot of it is still semi-frozen, and I do that just to be able to keep it as fresh as possible, and then we cook it. So we basically put it into the oven still semi-frozen, and then we cook it to 165 degrees, so it's got to be at 165 for 14 seconds. That's the meat. That basically, that's what constitutes a gently cooked meal right there, is 165 degrees for 14 seconds. So we're not losing any of the, the nutritional value in the product. And then we portion it all out, mix it up, bag it, and then freeze it, for the end user.
Just in a home refrigerator, freezer, or what?
We have chest freezers right now. I've got about 8 or 9 chest freezers. The large ones, they're 7 feet long, so they'll hold a couple thousand pounds a piece.
And you're essentially freezing them in pretty much the same kind of chest freezer that the farm families would use to freeze their vegetables and their deer meat and
absolutely
whatever else.
Yep, that's right. So again, we're getting to the point where we're going to need a walk-in freezer just for a little bit more volume. But what we have right now works pretty good. But yeah, they're basically household units. We just have 9 of them. So
that's a lot, yeah. I have a Chesapeake Bay Retriever named Herman, who's pretty well known around the area. I have fed Herman his entire life on the Blue dry dog food products. Right now, Blue Wilderness.
Yep.
And that's a premium dry dog food. It's not inexpensive. How competitive are your prices? If I were going to feed Herman or someone else wanted to feed their dog, strictly on Honcoop products, how competitive would the prices be to what I'm paying now?
Well, so you're comparing apples with oranges a little bit. It's the better way to say it is, how competitive are you with brands that are similar? So I'll start with that, and then I'll answer your question, because if you have a cooked dog meal that is a complete and balanced diet like we have, and you compare that with other cooked dog meals on the market that are complete and balanced like what we have, we are highly competitive when it comes to price. There is nobody that will beat our pricing. You're looking at spending between $10 and $16 a pound on average for cooked dog meals that are within the same AFCO standard category as we are. We are selling ours for between basically $5 and $7 a pound. So there's nobody can touch our pricing when it comes to the same. Now, where we can't compete is in the kibble industry, like in the dry dog food. We're not able to compete with that because we use premium quality meat and we use premium quality vegetables, where the kibble market uses quite a different product. I have to say it relatively carefully, but a lot of the product that a rendering facility will use to make dry dog food is animal waste. Not like manure, but intestines and things that these companies don't have any use for, so they throw them out. So they put them through this rendering process where they'll put them the the leftovers, whatever you want to call that. We'll call it meat for the sake of understanding. They'll put this meat into an oven and heat it at 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. But what that does, so their intention is to burn off bacteria, which it definitely does, but it also kills cell structure, and it takes away nutritional value from the product as well. The same thing goes for if there's vegetables in it. It goes through that heat process again, and then it's pressurized, just to basically ensure that there's no harmful bacteria within the product. But again, pressure destroys cell structures, and as a result, it takes away nutritional value. So now you have to add, some sort of a supplement to be able to give this dog nutrition. And the way I kind of compare it is, look, it's like you go to McDonald's every day and getting a large fry for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then make sure you take your vitamins during the day. It's like you're still not doing the healthy thing. And so that's what a lot of dogs are eating. And again, it's a big reason for digestive issues in dogs, I would say, is the kibble. So that's why specifically we've made such a high quality dog food is number one, to get away from those issues that you're seeing in the mainstream market, and getting a dog into a healthy meal and not having to deal with digestive issues, or mat fur, or their dung isn't breaking down in the backyard or whatever. So we kind of combat all of those issues, but price wise, we can't compete with a cheap product. That's just the way it is.
Well, Herman is a 90-pound chow hound. I feed Herman 3 cups of Blue Wilderness a day, 1 in the morning, 2 in the evening. And then he eats anything that falls on the floor, whether it's food, plastic, steel. It doesn't matter. If it's on the floor, it's Herman's food.
Yep.
Can you estimate approximately how many pounds of your pet food that Herman would need a day to replace what he's eating now?
Yeah, so we have a feeding chart on the back of our product that gives you the weight of the dog. There's basically 2 categories. Do you want to maintain the weight of your dog, or do you want your dog to experience weight loss? If so, then based on the weight of your dog currently, these are the feeding guidelines in ounces. So that's kind of how we have it set up, all the way from a 1 pound dog to 100 plus pound dog, and that's on every single package. So that way you know exactly what to feed them. And then in the I would leave it at that, I suppose. But yeah, so a lot of dogs, that's another issue, is a lot of dogs are overweight. Hence the reason we put that on our chart is, look, if you want your dog to lose weight and eat a healthy meal every day, this is what you do. Once your dog's at the weight you want it to be at, just look at a different section on the graph, which says this is how much you should feed him if you want to maintain healthy weight. Now your dog's got healthy weight, and so it's, it all starts at nutrition and putting together that diet, but there's so many different reasons why you would do that for your dog.
If I should decide that Herman needed to start eating Honcoop natural pet food, and I didn't feel like driving to Missouri or Paducah or La Center or Nashville, could I get it delivered to me?
Yeah, we ship. So we have insulated shipping boxes that we use, and you just go online. You can just you just go onto our website and order whatever you like. We put it together in a box for you, and we ship it out usually the next day.
How do you ship it?
Through UPS.
Okay.
Yep. Or if there's a carrier that has, we are always kind of watching the logistics market a little bit, but UPS seems to be the go-to for the time being.
I imagine that most business owners would like to see their businesses grow. Yeah. I know you mentioned that you probably will move into cat food. What do you see as the future for your business?
Well, it's we have big plans. I'll tell you that. So I don't intend on slowing down anytime soon. I want to scale my business. You know, if all goes well in the world, and I can continue to work the way that we are right now, then I hope to build a brand that's recognized throughout the United States. Because not for the sake of recognition per se, but just for the sake of this is something that we started out to do, so we're going to do it. We're going to do it the best we can. And, you know, I think we have the potential to do it, and for that reason, we're going to do it.
Well, let's get back to what I still find fascinating, that a man from Canada has a dog food company in Barlow. Have you worked with any of the local organizations, such as the governments or the Chamber of Commerce, Barlow City government, anybody since you've started your company?
I haven't actually done any. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. The facility that we're using right now, I found with Hannah. I believe her last name's Kretchen from the
Chamber of Commerce.
The Chamber of Commerce, yeah. So she was pretty helpful in a lot of those things, like finding that place in the first place. And then I've met all the board, because I had to have a board meeting obviously before we went to. But I've never done the only transaction I've really ever done with the Chamber of Commerce is the building that we're in right now. But as a result, I've met you know, the mayor, and I forget his name now. It's Todd, I think it is.
Pardon?
The
Todd
judge.
Cooper, the county judge executive. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, I met him and other people that they've done business with. So I've actually, through the Chamber of Commerce, which I hope to join soon, I've created quite a few, like a pretty nice little network.
You must have made a good impression on Todd Cooper. He's the one who suggested that I might want to talk to you as a guest down there.
Well, I hope so.
How many people does it take right now, or from the start and now, to operate your company?
Like as of right now, I mean, there's a lot of people from an employee perspective. It doesn't take really that many, you know. So they need somebody to oversee what's going on, basically, and let a lot of the equipment do the work. But it's a lot of it is in planning. I mean, this is just fairly standard, I would think, for businesses. But I really wanted to make sure all my I's were dotted and my T's crossed when I moved here, because I wasn't entirely familiar with all of the laws like I am in Canada. So yeah, we hired a excellent business lawyer from Manhattan. Actually, she was referred to me by a business planner that I had been referred to by my immigration lawyer. So this is how it works with the network. Yeah, her name is Shirin Mova-Hedrikosevic, and she's a pretty good business lawyer. She's done a lot of the legalities for me, you know.
Probably not a native Ballard County and with that name, I would suggest.
No, I don't think so. She's New York City, but I would recommend her if you're ever doing a business venture, because she doesn't leave any stone unturned. You know, like she makes sure everything is tickety boo. So, and I'm sure there's other great lawyers out there too, but I didn't even know where we were going to land. So I found this through I found Shirin through a referral. So yeah, and then we made the business plan together with the business planner, and there was just a lot of paperwork to do because we moved from Canada. So we had to show the American government that we had started a business, but that we weren't working, because they had to give us approval to work. But I had to still show them that I had this business. So everything we did was backwards, basically. So we arrived in the U.S. then we started a business, but we never did any work towards the business because we weren't allowed to legally do any work. And so, yeah, it was incredible. I had to set the whole thing up, get all my equipment, take pictures, send it to the government, say, hey, like, this is what I've invested. Here's all my receipts. And now I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs. Can I please work? And then they said, yeah, you can. So they gave us the approval. We got our visas. And but that was an incredible amount of work just to get to that point.
How many employees do you have?
Right now I have 2 employees. Yeah, so one is in sales, and then the other one's in the kitchen. I had a few more at one point, but yeah, it just wasn't working out with them. The sales guy I had was having a bit of a tough time closing, and so we just kind of called it a day there. And but yeah, so it's working good with what I have right now, and we've got our bookkeeper and whatnot. But yeah.
I guess I would describe you right now as a regional company. You mentioned expansion and maybe becoming national. Do you have any time frame for when that might happen?
I off the top of my head, I don't, but I mean, I do have it all laid out very clearly in my business plan. So I hope that within 5 years' time, we'll be in a lot of the states. Majority of the states, I would say.
Within 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
we're
pretty good
on
growth.
track right now for where we need to be. Just based on, again, what we put together as a business plan. So if I can keep up with what we've planned, then we'll be there in 5 years.
You may have to buy another freezer.
Oh, I will. Yeah. I'm never going to stop at this point. Yeah, and so it's just going to keep on going from here.
If someone listening to this should want to know, or if they should ask, someone should ask you, what would you say to a person thinking about locating a business in Ballard County, Kentucky?
I think starting, especially coming from Southwest Ontario, I think starting a business in a place like Ballard County is a fantastic idea, because I think there's a lot of opportunity in this county. There's a decent population. I mean, it's not crazy, but there's a decent population that's fairly tight knit, I've noticed. You know, a lot of people know a lot of people, and a new business in town, I think people are going to support that, just from the community standpoint, because that's a pretty strong thing here. But also, what I like a lot about this part of Kentucky is that it is quite central. Like, if you're gonna start a business in Ballard County, you know, you can do business in the county, you can provide jobs, all of those types of things for the Ballard economy, basically. But the other side of it is, from a geographical perspective, it's pretty central in the U.S. You know, like, there's a lot of other cities that you can do business in around it without having to go too super far. So from an opportunity standpoint, that way, it's like, that's pretty good. And then, yeah, I mean, they're putting up the new gas station there in La Center, and I just feel like as time goes on and more businesses come in, there's just gonna be more people and more opportunity. And I mean, you've got the Chamber of Commerce too, which is kind of neat, because that was foreign to me, to have people come in and say, hey, if you need anything, help me. I mean, let me know. You know what I mean? It's like, that's coming from Southwest Ontario.
I'm just a private citizen, but I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and Peggy Meredith, the mayor of Barlow, is president of the chamber. So
yeah.
And I guess they do a good job representing the county businesses.
Well, that's what my experience has been so far. I mean, they've been very helpful to me. So
we've covered a lot of ground, but we may have failed to cover something that you think is important. Can you think of anything else?
From my business perspective, not really. I mean, I've learned a lot when it comes to starting a business, and I would say to anybody who's looking to start a business, if you think you want to do it, then don't wait for the right time, just do it. because otherwise you'll never do it. It's gonna be tough no matter which way you look at it.
That's right.
You know, so it's like that's the only thing I would say. But yeah, and do something you like. Otherwise, it's not gonna be that fun.
All right, Josh. Listen, you don't know how much I appreciate you taking time out from a Saturday morning to come out to Monkey's Eyebrow and talk to us. And I wish you the very best in your business.
Nope. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And yeah, maybe we'll see you around. Our product is in the co-op in La Center. So we're gonna be putting that in boxes right shortly, and we'll have a nice product for you on the shelves at the co-op in La Center.
Well, I guess the last thing before we go.
Yeah.
You said you could get your product in Paducah. Where in Paducah is it?
It's going to be at Hughes Meat Market.
Okay.
Yeah.
More Grahamville than Paducah.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah.
Their address
That's where
is
I buy
Paducah,
all my bacon.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they've got nice quality meats there, and we're using human grade meat too for our product. So a lot of people actually go there to buy meat so they can make their own dog food. So now they don't need to go there to buy the meat; they can just go there to buy the dog food without having to make it, because they're basically homemade meals is what we have.
Well, you brought 2 bags of dog food. I bet it wouldn't hurt me if I ate them instead of letting
No,
Herman
that's right.
have
You could. I mean, I would put them in the oven a little longer because they're gently cooked, but you can totally eat them and you'd have no problem. It's because so in the beef meal actually that you have, just for fun, if you look at the back, number one, there's not a single ingredient on the back of that meal that you'll not understand. So that's a big deal. But you've got there's beef liver, there's green beans, there's potatoes, there's all kinds of different stuff. It's like literally a full scale, as they say in Dutch, prakkie, where you get all your meat and your vegetables together and you mash them up nice and then you eat them. In Dutch, they call that a prakkie. So that's what we call our meals, a prakkie.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Again, thank you for coming.
Yep. Thank you very much.
And that's today's view as seen from Joe's Place in Monkey's Eyebrow. Please visit us again next time.